Currently, we have uncompetitive seaports in Calabar, Warri, Onne, and Port Harcourt. We must find ways to make these seaports competitive, and we will do this in partnership with investors from the private sector. Nigeria is currently rated to have the second most dangerous roads in the world, based on road accidents and road deaths. This has to turn around. And in the new Nigeria, we must be able to get every single citizen and resident, everyone on our roads, from their point of origin to their point of destination in the safest way possible. To this end, we must have a comprehensive reform of the Federal Road Safety Corps as an institution and ensure that all its processes for training and testing, certification of drivers is world-class. Most importantly, they must be equipped to test road drivers to ensure that they are not driving under the influence of alcohol or any banned substance. The hallmark of our economic and national development is businesses and industries. And as a management consultant, I have dedicated well over 20 years of my life building businesses. My success has never been measured by the size of my own business, but I have always measured my success by the number of businesses that I have been privileged to help, to serve, and to help scale up. Now I want you to imagine a president who feels fulfilled every time a Nigerian business goes global. And so, to every business person out there, male or female, I will be there for you. I want you to understand that I am committed to help you. This is not a political strategy that is just there to win an election. This is my lifelong passion. Together, we will build your business into institutions that will outlast our generation and provide a solid foundation for the next generation, who will build your business into the Fords and the Heinz and the Kellogg's of this world. Global businesses that will come out of Nigeria. In growing those businesses, we will provide more jobs. And more importantly, we will work hard and never stop until we get capital at single-digit interest rates. We will engage and appoint the best central bank governor who will not only be committed to the success of banks and bankers, but to the success of every Nigerian business. We will lead institutions that are absolutely committed to the growth of businesses in Nigeria. We will support every entrepreneur and business owner who, in spite of all odds, has refused to quit. And I have this one message for you. A brighter day is coming soon, and we will help you. And you will succeed because of government, not in spite of government. As a founder and CEO of a social enterprise that was created to solve social problems, I have found that there is a strong relationship between national development and economic growth. To this end, we will leverage the idea of social capitalism and develop policies that will support social businesses with the aim of maximizing social impact and sustainable profit. My administration will honor and recognize entrepreneurs making social impact and contributions all across our nations, especially where they make significant contribution to our rural and national development. Therefore, a Fela Durotoye-led administration will work hard to improve the ease of doing business ranking until we become the #1 destination for investors in Africa. With a lower interest rate and robust monetary policies, we will ensure that the banking industry is able to lend to businesses at single-digit interest rates, which will then enable those businesses to become more profitable as they grow their outputs. We will provide an enabling environment for all locally owned businesses to be able to find ways to not only provide their services to Nigerians, but to be able to provide services to the global markets. We would also make sure that the environment is enabled to help foreign direct investments thrive and make profits that are easy for them to be able to repatriate. We will establish special economic zones, investment promotion agencies, and create export credit agencies, as well as export promotion agencies in every one of the 6 geopolitical zones across Nigeria. We will also establish 36 industrial zones in every state across Nigeria to encourage small-scale processing and manufacturing. These industrial zones will be fully serviced with electricity, machines, storage, distribution, facilities, and rail connected to the rail networks that will be able to get them to the ports. We will work with the state and local governments to set up special economic zones in each and every one of the 774 local governments so that they can enjoy shared services that will enable their operations run smoothly and operate competitively. How many companies, businesses, or brands can you remember that no longer exist? You know, in my opinion, every time a business fails, it is a national disaster worthy of flying our flag at a half-mast. Why? Because it takes more than money to start a business. Therefore, we lose much more than money when businesses fail. We also lose the faith, the hope, the courage, and the self-confidence that helped to start that failed business at the beginning of that journey. So I'll share with you my PEGS philosophy, and it's really quite simple. It goes like this. The best thing that can ever happen to a nation is to have an abundance of profitable enterprises that grow sustainably. That's PEGS. But such businesses can only be built and grown by passionate entrepreneurs and employees who are committed to delivering great service. That's another PEGS. And this is how we will attain productive economic growth and stability. Yet another PEGS that enables everyone prosper and enjoy good success. And that's my final PEGS. Now, this PEGS philosophy is anchored on the requirement that we all deliver great service in every business and deliver an amazing experience to everyone who we meet and we serve on a daily basis, whether they're internal or external customers. As you do, you would have helped our nation build another business that will grow strong enough and last long enough to inspire other brands, hire many hands, and conquer foreign lands. Now, that, in my opinion, is true national service. But most importantly, in the new Nigeria, people must work. And for people to work, we must have jobs. And with all the above interventions in education, health, economy, agriculture, power sectors, we will ensure the creation of jobs year on year. And most importantly, to ensure that we reduce unemployment by actually patronizing and supporting agricultural production across each of the geopolitical zones. The most important priority for the Fela Durotoye-led administration is the creation of jobs, particularly youth employment. Currently, we have 16 million youth unemployed and 18 million youth underemployed. And this is absolutely unsustainable and unacceptable to any nation that will be great and, most importantly, will be able to actualize its greatness. So, within the first 100 days of our administration, we will create a national jobs database that will be able to connect employers with job seekers. We will leverage technology and use technology to run personality profiles on those that are registered on this database so that they are able to identify where their areas of strength are and, most importantly, where their natural talents is. What we'll then do is to be able to run human job analysis that will make sure that they are able to be plugged in to the right areas so that their strength naturally evolves. In other words, you're trying to get them to become their best in what they're naturally good at. That way, they're not just gainfully employed, but they will be joyfully employed. Nigeria currently has an estimated 37 million micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises. Through our Operation Scale Up Nigeria, we will find ways to engage with these enterprises to scale up their capacity and their operations so that they are able to double their workforce year on year. We would also immediately commence the implementation of a startup action plan to support startups across the Federation through a startup intervention fund that is domiciled with the Bank of Industry. We would also establish vocational and technical skills acquisition training centers across each of the 6 geopolitical zones. We will also review all the vocational and technical skills acquisition training centers across the country to ensure that their curriculum covers not only the art, science, technique, technology, and business of their vocation. That way, they would have the greatest capacity to be able to grow their businesses beyond just thinking of themselves as people who are just handymen. or women. When you look at the world map, you might find something very interesting, that Nigeria is almost practically located in the center of the world. Nigeria is located along the equator and literally halfway between the east and the west of the world. And that makes us, puts us in a very strategic position, wherein we can become the manufacturing and the logistics capital of the world. We must therefore make the most of this special, unique geographical advantage by ensuring that Nigeria becomes a most attractive destination for manufacturers all around the world. To do this, we must introduce tax credits for investment in capital expansion, venture capital, and development funds. We must also make it possible for them to be able to easily bring their monies into Nigeria and repatriate their profits from Nigeria. That is the way that Nigeria will become so attractive to them. But in doing this, we must be able to reduce unemployment by prioritizing and supporting agricultural production across each of the geopolitical zones in line with their comparative cost advantage for each zone through comprehensive land reforms. Agriculture currently contributes just under 30% to our overall GDP. Agriculture also has a very special place in my heart because it provides the highest opportunity for job creation. Therefore, we must find ways to reduce unemployment by prioritizing and supporting agricultural production across each geopolitical zone in line with their comparative cost advantage. With all the above interventions in education, health, agriculture, power, security, and several of the other sectors that we have highlighted, we will be able to create year on year 3 million jobs, meaning that at the end of this administration, we should be able to see 12 million jobs at least created for young people in Nigeria. In the new Nigeria, we must ensure that the law enforcement and the judicial systems must work for everyone, not just the privileged few. You should get a fair hearing and you should get justice regardless of who you are, where you're from, who you know, or your social class. To this end, we must rigorously pursue and implement comprehensive police reforms. We will also provide support for community and state policing. Most importantly, we must also reform our public complaints systems and processes, because it must be possible and we must find ways to encourage people to report any cases of excessive use of force and abuse of power by those that we have entrusted as uniformed officers to protect the people. Therefore, wheresoever such investigations are done and found to be true, such officers will be made to publicly apologize to those to whom they have violated their human rights, and we will let the law take its course. We will also promote and support the creation of state judiciary councils in all the federating units, as well as the establishment of state courts of appeal to ensure that states appoint their own judges and have control over the payment of their judicial officers. The aim here is very simple, is to expedite the court process and to grant quick hearing and fair hearing to everyone. Furthermore, we must automate the court system to ensure zero tolerance for inefficiency. The ultimate responsibility of government, any good government, is to make it possible for people to live a better quality of life, to make it possible for people to improve their standards of living, to improve the quality of life, and to make it easier to live a better life. Most times, this is what should be driving everyone who aspires for office. And this is what burns in my heart. It is all about making sure that we can make life better. And for that to happen, it must be easy for people to have the basic things that they need in life: good food, public transport, easy housing, fuel, and most importantly, cooking fuel, and then access to affordable power. Great nations all over the world have mastered the art of coming up with the right policies and institutions that make what is acceptable to the rich accessible and affordable to the poor. And that is why all over the world you will find a janitor and the CEO going to the office in the same train, because the trains are clean, they are affordable to the poor, and then they're acceptable to the rich. you would find out that what poor nations do, on the other hand, is to make sure that what is acceptable to the rich is a privilege only for the rich. In the new Nigeria, this is what social justice is going to be about, that people will have quality food. It will be accessible, acceptable, and affordable to all. We would have quality public transport that is accessible, affordable, and acceptable to all. And we will do the same for decent housing, for cooking fuels, and for electrical power. In the area of transportation, we will consolidate the Federal Ministry of Transport to have a Federal Minister of Transport and Ministers of State for aviation, marine, road, and rail transportation. We would also embark on the first aid construction on all roads within the first year. First aid meaning we would quickly fill up all the potholes across all roads in Nigeria, and then later scale up those roads and upgrade them in subsequent years. But we would make sure that there will be a free flow of traffic, and everywhere there has been bottlenecks, we will try to make sure that they become thoroughfare. Also, we must partner with the private sector on highway maintenance in exchange for advertising rights within the sections of roads that they would sign up for, to ensure that quality and healthy food is accessible and affordable to everyone. We will embark on the Operation Feed Nigeria project. We would launch 36 agricultural hubs across Nigeria. We would accelerate and encourage the promotion of investment in animal husbandry, fisheries, and so on, so that young people can once again find agriculture as a viable occupation that they are proud to be able to say, I am a farmer. As we've seen with young people like Mosu Umoru, the pretty farmer, who has become a young global leader. And of course, Onyeka Akuma, who's the CEO of Farm Crowdy. We must also elevate the status of our culinary delicacies as world-class meals. I want you to imagine going into any five-star hotel all across the world, and you'll find them serving tuwo shinkafa, fufu, amala, banga, edikaikon, afang, ofin sala, jollof rice, especially jollof rice, just to mention a few. But this is one of the things that we want to be. We want to take Nigerian meals to the world the same way the Italians have brought us spaghetti or the Chinese have brought us rice. In the area of housing, we will commence the Operation Shelter Nigeria and create a national affordable housing policy that enables the development of affordable housing for first-time buyers by private developers, who will enjoy tax credits, incentives, and reduced land and approval costs in exchange for selling it at less than 40% of average market prices. We will kick off this platform in partnership with the private sector in year one of our administration. We would select also the main materials conventionally used in constructing homes in Nigeria and stimulate the local production so that it makes it more affordable and, of course, cheaper for those who use them. And especially to ensure that they become locally available substitutes for imported material. We will create world-class national housing and building standards and have models of housing units such that if anyone would apply to use those models and build houses according to the nationally accepted standards of models, they will fast-track their housing permits and ensure that they have some kind of tax incentives that will enable them to be. And the benefit and the beauty of this is that you will see similar houses all across Nigeria that have the same size of doors, same size of windows, same design, and most importantly, same roofing tiles. Now, why is this important? Because once we have national standards, it is possible for those who will make those doors, whether they're door frames or window frames, because they are all the same size, they can then begin to produce and have economies of scale that will drive down the pricing so that housing becomes more affordable. And of course, it will increase employment. Now, I recognize that many of the ideas that we have shared today, some would say, well, Fela, they're not totally new or completely original or in one way or the other, that these things have been said and done before. You know, we've come up with blueprints before. We've come up with Vision 2000, and it was supposed to be a brilliant blueprint. We came up with Vision 2010. We came up with Vision 2020. There is the National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy. There is the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. Fela, Nigeria is not in lack of good plans, and I will be the first to agree. Yes, indeed. It is not the lack of good plans that has always beset our nations. It's really the implementation of those good plans. So the question that anyone will be right to ask is, Fela, what are you then going to do differently? What will a Fela Durotoye-led administration do and bring to the table that is different from what the others have? Well, the first thing I always talk about is political will. And I believe that the reason why many of the great ideas have never been fully implemented, in part, is just because many of the people who come into elected office actually have gone in through multiple layers of political compromise, whereby they have actually made it impossible for their allegiance to be to the people who elected them. But more importantly, their allegiance has been to the godfathers and the cabals who actually made it possible for them to be elected. Fela Durotoye does not have any cabal. Fela Durotoye does not have any godfather. The 190 million people are my cabal. They are my godfathers. And they are the ones to whom my allegiance is born. I have the political will, and I will take the hard decisions that will improve the lives of the people, regardless of who it is, whose ox is God. The second reason why there are brilliant plans that have not been executed most of the time is just purely because those who are elected and appointed into office to execute those plans usually do not have what you call the presence of mind in the areas of governance, because most of them are very easily distracted by what you will think of as political activities and political meetings. I challenge anyone who is currently in government to ask yourself, especially if you're elected, how many hours of your time a day do you spend on governing activities, governing meetings, things that have to do with solving the problems of the people? And how many hours a day do we spend in politically related activities, politically related meetings? How many hours a day? Many people have said that you would find that most times it is 20% governance and 80% political activity. Well, Fela Durotoye is not a politician. I am a technician. And the work that the people have sent me to do will be by far the most important thing that I will do. I will spend most of my time, indeed probably almost all of my time, focused on governance, not politics. And that is what makes me who I am. Thirdly, I bring to the table a set of values that I believe will help Nigerians to reorient our minds and change our behavior in a way that will enable us to have new Nigerians that can build a new Nigeria. Those 10 values are really as simple as that every Nigerian will make a positive impact on everyone they meet and everywhere they go. Number 2, that they will be solution providers and not parts of the problem to be solved. Number 3, that they will be role models worthy of emulation. Number 4, that they will be their best in all they do, particularly the things they're naturally good at. Number 5, that they will do the right thing at all times, regardless of who is doing the wrong thing. Number 6, that we would value time and make the best use of it. Number 7, that we will care and show respect to all through our words and our actions. Number 8, that we would consciously build great legacies, starting now, today, and every day. Number 9, that we would live lives of integrity and honor. And number 10, that we will make our families, our nation, and our God proud. I want you to imagine if this becomes the national creed of our nation, and this becomes the way that Nigerians are defined all across the world. As you can imagine, it will lead to amazing, people just want to do anything to be with a Nigerian, to live with a Nigerian, and to work with a Nigerian. And that is how we become the most desirable people to work with, the most desirable people to live with, and the most desirable people to be able to visit. And this is how you build great nations, by defining your value system. And I bring that to the table. I also bring to the table a zero tolerance for fraud, corruption, and non-performance. Those who know me would say to you that Fela has very little tolerance for excuses. I believe that excuses are good reasons for bad results. I hate excuses. I am known to hate excuses. And I do not tolerate excuses, neither do I accept them. If someone is given a job to do and the person doesn't do the job, I hold them accountable. I believe that when people are given the responsibility to secure the lives and property of those people, and their people are dying every day, somebody should be fired. This is my belief. Until people are held accountable, I do not believe that the system would understand the culture of performance. This is what I bring to the table. Another thing that I bring to the table is my philosophy that we should have on a cabinet that will deliver good governance, the strength of the young and the wisdom of the old. And to that end, I believe very strongly that the average age of the cabinet members must not exceed 49 years old, which means that if we have a 51-year-old minister on our cabinet, we would also have a 47-year-old minister on our cabinet. But when you look at the average age of our ministers, it should not be more than 49 at the time of appointment. Well, we also believe very strongly that the ministers of state should be the next generation ministers in waiting, so that we would have some form of succession planning. To that end, we believe that the average age of the ministers of state in our cabinet will not exceed 39 years old, which means that when we have a minister of state that is 41-year-old, we would also have a minister of state that is 37-year-old, so that the average age comes to 39 years old, which gives us the time to be able to groom the next generation, even in the place of governance, and ensure succession planning. I also bring to the table my philosophy that we should have gender parity within our cabinet, which means we must have 50-50 representation of male and female ministers and members of the cabinet. Now, I believe that we should not only speak at that level of ministers, but we should elevate this principle even to the highest level of the office of the president and the vice president. And to this end, I am expecting and hoping to run for the office of the president with a female running mate, who will not just be chosen because she's female, but she must be technically astute and politically sound to be able to make sure that she could be a great president if she ever had to be. We would also have a very technologically forward administration, making sure that all our ministers are technologically savvy and have the capacity to be able to leverage technology within their ministries and, of course, within the presidency. We will also be setting up a very special council that I call the Presidential Advisory Council. The Presidential Advisory Council is going to be made up of people of exceptional character and reputation, people of integrity who have achieved great success in their various endeavors. And they will become not only advisors to the president, but they will become mentors to many of the ministers and ministers of state in the work that they do. They will not be on the payroll of the government. For most of them will be accomplished people, and they would only seek to be able to serve, to give back to the country that has been good to them in helping them become who they are. Of course, we are also going to seek to have public, private, and civil society partnership, and that is going to be the hallmark of everything that we do. I also intend to have a national standard that is set across all of Nigeria for even things like street lights and signages, schools and hospitals. You know, I always say to people that there is no part of this country that is called Nigeria. That Nigeria is an identity that a people within a geographical zone adhere to. And Nigeria must be a standard that the people of this nation will be able to experience wheresoever they go. So, for instance, there should be a Nigerian standard road, which means that whether you go to Abia or you go to Adamawa, the size or the thickness of the tar and the road construction must be standard, so that you have a Nigerian experience wherever you go within the borderlines of this country. Also, we would have presidential awards for specific sectors that will enable us be able to celebrate those who are doing great things. And those awards will be truly awards of excellence in various sectors. It will be such that those who are young and are contributing greatly to economic development and social development are people who are rewarded. Those are the kind of people that people would notice that come to have dinner with the president. And so This is the kind of administration that we're going to bring forth. An administration that values, promotes, and celebrates leadership and excellence that is required for the accelerated development that we would need to have for our nation. Now, I understand that if we do all these things right, the result will be that we would have the right quality of life and standard of living, and we would improve not only and have better lives for our people, but we would have and reduce the cost of living for our people. This, I believe, is what real governance is all about. Now, I understand that a few people may say something like, look, Fela, you know what, I don't think you covered all the things that I needed to hear you say that you will do in 4 years. Well, that must be tough to do in one speech. Some people are going to say, well, you know, you've said all these amazing things that you want to do, but it seems like you don't realize that it's not going to be that easy. And that probably is because you lack political experience. And I always would like to respond by saying, it is not political experience that is needed for good governance. It is leadership expertise. And leadership expertise, I believe, is something that I have in abundance and have demonstrated, especially through public service, as I have done over the last 15 or so years consistently. Now, some people would say to you, the only reason why the lack of political experience may be actually advantageous to good governance is that those who lack political experience are willing to learn and they're willing to try to do things differently. So, the bottom line is, I do not believe that I have all the answers. In fact, I believe that most of the people who are listening to me, including you, have many of the answers that we need to build the nation that we both would like to live in. So, I need your help. As you constructively critique this plan, I know that you also have the ability to be able to contribute. So I'm asking you to please do so. In fact, some people would love to tear this plan down for political reasons, while many others would just love to criticize it. But if you would like to build a new nation, I ask you to help us build this plan and even make your contributions to build a new Nigeria. To be able to make this happen, please simply send your contributions to greatideas@feladurotoye.net. greatideas@feladurotoye.net. Now, we intend to take this blueprint of ours on a roadshow across Nigeria and even into Nigerians in diaspora. And to be able to ensure that we do that, we would essentially take this sector by sector and sit down with sectoral experts who have experience in their own areas, and we will get them to do 10 simple things. Number one, we will get them to create draft vision statements for their sector. Number two, we will get them to identify the core values that must be encouraged within their ecosystem to drive the actualization of the vision that they have created for their sector. The third thing we will do is to get them to identify the priorities and key focus areas that must be addressed immediately in the near, short, and medium and long terms in order to achieve the vision that they have for their industry. The fourth thing that we will do is to identify policy and program initiatives that can be crystallized to achieve the vision that they have set. We would look and review existing great ideas, because it's not every time you throw everything away simply because it's a new administration. Several administrations have come up with great ideas, and we must find what it is that works and keep it, and then look at the things that need to be changed and change them. We must also be able to look at the things that have been poorly implemented and find ways to be able to implement them properly. We must identify bottlenecks and challenges to the development and achievement of the industry and look at the legal, infrastructural, cross-industry frameworks that they have already been built and see how can we make things better. The sixth thing that we have to do is to identify the regulatory agencies that should be responsible for creating an enabling environment for the actualization of the vision that they have set for their industry. The seventh thing we're going to do with industry experts is to define the ideal leadership profile for those who would lead the regulatory authorities and even get them to suggest a few industry practitioners whose profiles best fit for those possible appointments. It is my belief that executive appointments of government agencies should not be done on a political basis, that it should be technocrats who will do so. And that in bringing technocrats into the governing space, we will have our brightest and best minds who will have the ability to be able to create the policies that are required for us to grow our economy and fix our country. The ninth most important thing is that we must identify a list of 3 to 5 practitioners that are willing to help us crystallize 100-day, 200-day, and 300-day plans of action steps that need to be taken. But the last, and I think the most important thing we want to do with every sector, is we want to create an accountability framework that will hold our administration accountable, so that we are able to ask, how do we monitor the execution of all the promises that we made to each and every sector? And how do we look to see the execution and the implementation of the action plan? Now, I know that you have taken the time to watch this, and I really, really, really am grateful for your time. But to every young person out there, I have one very simple message. Go and get your PVC. Now, I understand that it may be difficult and it may be at odds stacked against us in getting our PVC, but let me be clear, you have braved greater odds before and you have succeeded. This will not be any different. Young people, please listen to me. You will decide not only the outcomes of the 2019 elections, but you will decide the outcomes of our nation. To our parents, many of you, I would say, have seen Nigeria in its glory days. And I know the pain that you feel, and sometimes when you wonder if this is the nation you will be given to your own children and your grandchildren. But this is the most important one. Go get your PVC2. Your vote in 2019 will determine the nation that you actually hand over to your children and your grandchildren. Now, let's be clear. The status quo of this nation will be an option, but you also have the option of voting for a nation that will work in your lifetime, and most importantly, in the lifetime of your children. To those Nigerians in diaspora, my message to you is very simple. You have a role to play too. The future of Nigeria is what you are presently experiencing many times outside the shores of this nation. A nation that works. A nation, many of you live in nations where things work, where everyone works, where government is working to make things work. And the reason why you're already experiencing that is so that you can also come back home to help us build the Nigeria of our dreams. And so, whilst you may not have a vote or the right to vote yet, and we must be able to do something about that, one thing that we know is you have a voice. And your voice you can use to shape the ideas of the people who have the right to vote and who are based here. So, together, we can build a nation whose passport you will carry with pride, and a nation whose heritage you will be proud to share wherever it is that you live. Nigeria will work again. Nigeria will be safe again. We will work in safety in this nation, and we will be proud again of this nation. That is my promise to you. This is not the end of the journey, it's just the beginning. We will learn as we go, and we will grow as we go, until ultimately Nigeria experiences real leadership and excellence that we can use to power accelerated development, not only for our people, for our society, for our economy, but for our nation at large. We will build a Nigeria that is the most desirable nation to live in. We have the political will to do so. A nation where things work, a nation where people can prosper and enjoy good success, and a nation where together we can all enjoy peace and economic growth and stability through the collaboration and partnership of public, private, and civil society. And I say to the world, get ready, world. The giant has woken up, and we are about to rise again. May God bless you, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.